chest day. Cheeky. I was about to say little, but chest day is a good day. Chest day is a big day. So, what's my plan of attack? What have I devised to promptly, swiftly, and efficiently wreck my chest into oblivion, as well as, pump it up to the pressure at the bottom of the sea? Well, I don't think it's that exact of a science, man. I don't think it requires that much forethought. Now, of course, let's think about this. I've been lifting for about 5.5 years. I do chest about twice a week ish. So that would mean 5.5 times 52, 270. It's like 550 chest days. Let's just say 500. So I've done that many chest workouts. And a lot of them have followed the same style. Heavy pressing, cable flies, pec deck, dumbbell flies, not so much now. Cable press, so about 500 chest days in the archive that I'm kind of basing this workout on. So based off of that, I know it's going to feel pretty good for me to do some kind of, moderately heavy press to start with. Maybe, I'm not sure what, honestly. I'll have to see what feels good. But before that, maybe a 10-ish, 15-minute 15-minute warm-up for my rotator cuffs, triceps a little bit, forearms a little bit, shoulders especially, a little bit of chest activation. But some heavy pressing, and then, after some of those more brutish sets are done, the sets where I'm really trying to just make sure I have a lot of tension on the muscle, on my pecs, kind of more so focused on, this sort of mid-range, lower range of motion. So that would be, a heavy incline dumbbell bench or Smith machine or machine press or something. And then once that, heavy work has been done, I kind of like transitioning into more squeezing sets. So if I try to do a really heavy set of 10 on incline bench of some variety or an incline press, maybe I'll do a few sets of that. And then afterwards, I'll totally flip the scripts and do some cable press where the weight is much lighter. And I'm really just trying to squeeze in the, completed portion of the rep, like the top half, where I'm like, fucking, gonna barely move anymore. So not only can you do lighter or heavier sets of chest, I kind of feel like some sets you bias different portions of the rep. Like when I do incline bench, especially barbell or Smith machine sometimes, there's not a lot of tension on my chest at the top. This is the resting position, because all the weight is just being transferred through the bones of my arm, and there's not much mechanical tension that my chest has to activate to hold the weight, right? So this is the resting position. It gets harder and harder and harder. I don't know how much you know about like trigonometry or whatever, but your chest is pretty much translating force through your upper arm. So at the top of the rep, this is the easiest. And at the bottom, when your arm is at 90 degrees compared to vertical, right, that's when your chest has the most tension on it. I mean, just looking at it, from angles and shit. So with those kind of pressing movements, the most difficult part of the rep is the bottom. Whereas, something like a pec fly is a little bit more evenly distributed throughout the whole rep. And then a lot of cable presses or some machine presses, it's kind of easier at the bottom, just the nature of the movement, like the strength curve, the weight's lightest at the bottom, and then it gets heavier and heavier and heavier and heaviest at the top. So I don't really think about that too much. Like when I'm in there picking my machines, I'm not really thinking about that too specifically. But by doing different reps or different movements that activate different parts of my chest, at least during different portions of the rep. I think trying to at least mix it up that way will do you pretty good. Like with a lot of, just think about your quads. When you do a squat, it's the same thing. When you're standing up with the weight, if it's really heavy weight, it's still going to be taxing on your whole system just because it's hard to stabilize and fucking, like if you got fucking 400 pounds on your back, you can't just stand there forever. But your quads are not firing at 100%, maybe 10, just to hold yourself up. Because again, all the weight is just being, transferred through your skeleton. Your hips, your thighs, your shins, they're all in line with each other. So when your leg's completely straight, your quad doesn't have that much tension in it. And as you squat down to parallel, at the bottom, that's when your quad is going to have the most tension. So with a squat, the deeper you go, the heavier it gets, and the higher you go, the easier it gets. Whereas with something like a leg extension, sometimes the bottom part, just based on the strength curve of the machine, the bottom could be the lighter portion, and then as you get up to the top and your legs are straightened, that's when you have the most tension on your quads. So that's probably a better example of trying to, describe how you can bias specific portions of the rep with different movements. So not only am I going to like leg extensions just because they feel good, I get a pretty good burn. I can do a lot of work on them. I always get a crazy pump. But second to that, it's just a different fucking movement. And some equipment makes use of this phenomenon of, having a, what do they even call it? I forget. When you bench, when you get to the bottom, they call this the hole. It's like you're in the hole of the bench or whatever. So it doesn't matter as much for me, but power lifters, sometimes they can get out of the hole pretty easily. Like they can take down a ton of weight and they can press it up like, 6 inches, 8 inches or whatever. No problem. Almost no matter how fucking heavy it is. But once they get this high up, this is their weak point and they just can't fucking do it. So with some equipment, a lot of, I think it's the prime equipment, where it's the machines that have 3 weight pegs. If you load up the top peg, I think it's, I forget, is that yeah, when you load up the top peg, that makes it easiest at the bottom of the rep. Whereas if you load up the, I can't remember. Fuck, I'm trying to imagine how this thing works. If you've ever seen it, you know what I'm talking about. When you load the bottom pin, the weight gets progressively heavier throughout the rep. And when you load up the top pin, it gets progressively lighter throughout the rep. So it's heavier down here at the bottom. So all I'm really trying to say is, not only is it going to benefit you and, second that, benefit me to do different movements just because they're going to activate different fibers in different ways, but different movements are also going to activate or require more, muscle contractions at different parts of the rep. So as much as I say you don't need that much variability, like if I were to come in here and, if all I had at my disposal was an incline Smith machine and all I did was incline Smith bench, I think I'd have a good chest day. I'd still have a good pump, but it's probably not the best way to go about it. So make sure to change it up. If you've been doing a lot of incline barbell bench, do some incline dumbbell. If you've been doing a lot of incline dumbbell, maybe do incline Smith, or focus more on incline hammer strength machine. And this could just be lift to lift, not even like period of time to period of time. I'm not so serious about it. I do like to change it up, but some people are fucking dead set on never repeating the same workout twice, at least not within any close or short period of time. Like I'll hear dudes say, and they probably don't mean this, 100%, but they do stand behind the logic, like never start the same workout with the same movement that you did last time. It's like if you did incline barbell last time, you can't do it again. Do incline dumbbell just to change it up, which I'd probably agree with. You'll still get good results, of course. I've done chest workouts back to back to back which were the fucking same, except for maybe minute differences. But yeah, I think variability is always your friend. But late on a Saturday, at least late relatively to the gym being open, because they close in about an hour and 15 minutes. Shouldn't be too packed. Let's just pump these mofos up. Yeah, just need one. I think it'll be like 12. We'll see. Just a little assistance on the end. Two more. Two more. One more. Up, 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 up. Oh, I got you. Push, 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 push. Yeah. Thanks. Got you, man. How many was that? That was 112. Oh my gosh. A lot. That was more of a grinder than expected. Yeah. One more would have been questionable. Let's move on. That flies ought to be good. One more. Okay. Let's make a jump set. Ah, fuck. Whoops. Okay. All right. Let's move on. All right. So this set will definitely qualify. Well, actually, honestly, given how fatigued I am for those last 4 sets, this will feel pretty heavy, but it's still kind of leaning towards the squeezing side. So with a movement like incline bench or even those cable flies, it does feel pretty good to burn out reps and kind of throw the weight around in a way. But with something like this, where the tension's a little more constant, and that could just be mumbo jumbo bro science words, But a movement like the cable press, I do like going a bit slower and holding it. So this, I mean, you get the gist, I think. Yeah. 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 Okay. One more at least. Rolling. Later. Yeah. 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 Okay. Let's make it a drop set. Yeah. 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 Oh my God. Okay. Oh. One more. This actually might be the last set because I feel pretty good, but I'm not peak pumped. So I'm gonna go do a little bit of a two-parter. So the first, let's just call it section of the set, same thing as before, heavy cable press, squeeze, hold it, you know, burn out. But then instead of just racking the weight and being done, I'm gonna drop the weight by like fucking half and then do some more kind of fly-based movements. So this combination of a press right into a fly, especially at the end of a workout, has never done me wrong. So let's just get amped up. Fuck. Yeah, man. Okay. Okay. All right. All done. Let's pose down. All right, so after only 7 sets, and you know what? I don't mean only. 7's a pretty good freaking number. And I'm not saying in general, but just for me today, look, I probably wouldn't get much out of 5 more sets. You know, I usually say, just as like a general recommendation, like if someone were to tell me their workout volume for one muscle group, if they said for a chest day they did 20 total working sets, I'm probably going to say that's too much. I'm probably going to say that's a lot of fluff work. Or if you are really pushing yourself on every set, it's just unnecessary. I think by the time you've done enough sets where you feel fully fatigued, you're fully pumped, you know, you've done an amount of work which you've done in the past, which has given you reasonable results, I think you're done, man. And wherever that number is, That's up to you. Fuck, if it is 20 and you're making crazy gains on 20, who am I to tell you you're doing it wrong? But, in my experience, my workouts, which have now kind of tapered down to, 7 or 8 sets each body part, those have worked out pretty well. But then again, that's for me. That is not how I've been working out this whole time. And of course, I'm a totally different guy than you. But I think just, following some principles and applying it to your own training, it's still worth at least thinking about. If your leg day is fucking 20 sets of quads, fuck, man, I think it's a little much. Maybe condense those sets, push yourself harder, and then you'll realize, like, oh crap, after 8 seriously hard sets, I'm done. I'm freaking done. Because, and I'm not talking about you specifically, but a lot of fucking people, fuck, man, I see a lot of fluff sets, and I hate to see it. Like, I saw one guy talking to me, he was doing arms, beginner lifter, like I could tell he was kind of new to it. And he's like, what's the best movement to grow my arms, man? And I'm like, I just watched him do a set of dumbbell curls. Like, looks like you're doing it. Curls, push downs. But the guy was doing, I could tell there were scrappy sets. He wasn't really pushing it. And if you don't put in that effort during your actual working sets to the point where you're really pushing your fucking physical limits of how many reps you can do, I don't think you're going to get very big, man. I think if from now on, and I can say this with relative certainty, if I were to stop doing sets to failure, like I did 15 reps-ish, I think, of 3 plates for the first set. If I were to have done 6 reps and racked it, I don't think I would have gotten much out of it. And if I did all my sets at that level of intensity, just really easy and putting it down, like just going through the motions, I don't think I would fucking grow at all. I think I could maybe maintain where I'm at. Maintaining muscle is much easier than building it. But if I want actual progress, and I'm not, at this point, it just kind of feels natural for me. But if I'm not trying to push every set as hard as I fucking can to the point of literally not being able to fucking move or doing more reps, at least for the most part, for the majority of my sets, fuck, man, I don't know if I should expect results. So if you've been slacking, or if your buddy's been slacking, don't immediately dog on him that hard, because, it's kind of mean, but he's going to get better results if he starts pushing it. But enough chit chat about fucking intensity. Everybody knows to go harder. Let's just see how we're looking. Yeah. I'm approaching recovered from whatever sickness I fucking contracted, but I'm still stuffy as all hell. That's probably one of the worst feelings I know of. Not being able to breathe at all through one of my nostrils because it's totally full of gunk. Blech. Not good. Ooh. What's the point even discussing it? The pump speaks for itself. Oof. Oh my God. Dude, I fucking love being pumped. And one thing which I think is very much worth thinking about, worth me talking about. Let's just do one last breath and then say it. Oh. And look, you have a valid point. After flexing, I'm definitely out of breath. But don't get too mad at me after a fucking vacuum. It's hard to fucking breathe normally after one of those. But one thing I want to talk about is in terms of my subjective enjoyment, if you were to measure the satisfaction in my brain that I feel from looking at myself pumped up, of course right now, fucking 250, 260, or actually no, that's not true, 257. That's a lot of fucking poundage, man. But fucking sitting here doing a side chest and a most muscular and everything, compared to like when I was a beginner, early days, like flexing in my high school weight room, like bathroom mirror. Maybe maybe I'll dig deep and actually find one of the pictures. I'm doing like a side chest right here. I'm like holding my phone in my other hand. Dude, I think I was just as happy then as I am now. Because, fuck, you gotta remember, a pumped state is just a certain degree of like, more craziness in one muscle group. Like it's like a little bit of a level up. Like when you get an arm pump, your arms are one level crazier than baseline, So whether you've got fucking 14-inch arms or if you've got 22-inch arms, you're kind of used to how you look. You're used to your baseline state of just, fucking walking around, you look your normal size. So coming into the gym, doing a really good workout, and then you can see a part of you just literally fucking grow in a period of an hour or less. It's just fucking cool, man. So whether you're a fucking 150 pounder or a 300 pounder, I think the amount of happiness you get from getting a pump, it's not very dissimilar, So that's kind of the fun part, right? No matter how long you've been lifting in a bodybuilding context, you're just chasing the pump, So you get a glimpse into where you're going to look later on. Like the size that my chest is right now, unpumped, is how big it was pumped maybe a year ago. Like it's that much of a difference. Of course, it's only temporary, but that's still pretty fucking cool, man. That's like, there's literally nothing else that compares to that. Let's say you're doing some kind of sport. Like, let's say you're a fucking golfer. And, normally you can hit a drive 200 yards, 250 yards, whatever. But imagine if after one really good practice, you could slam one 450. Like that much crazier in one little moment. You can just see how good you're going to be in the future. And it's not like you should look at how big you are and that should be directly correlated with how fucking happy you are. That is absolutely foolish. Ugh, terrible rabbit hole. Just don't even think like that for sure. But I think if you correlate your daily effort levels and your ability to progress in something you enjoy, fuck man, something like that will definitely make you fucking happy. So whether you've been lifting for 20 years or even a few years, I think we all feel just as good after a good workout. And just because someone's a million miles ahead of you, fuck man, don't get too jealous. Every time they see themselves pumped up, here's what goes on in their head. Oh yeah, fuck yeah. Fucking arm's huge. Whoa, holy crap, my arms look way bigger in that pose. Nice. They do a few poses and they leave. And then the 3-month lifter does the same thing. He's going to walk up to the mirror, take his shirt off and go, oh yeah, fuck yeah, my arm's a little bit bigger. Whoa, that pose looks way cooler. It's just, so you got to remember, even if somebody's I don't want to say the same phrase, but lifters who are way more advanced than you, if you're on track and you're doing your diet right, you're training really hard, honestly, I think that's one of the most important factors as a beginner for sure. You getting a good amount of sleep? Fuck, man. It's just a matter of time. And that may seem a little bit far-fetched to the real beginner because he hasn't seen any gains yet. For somebody who's lifted for 1 month, fuck, man, they're not really going to notice. They might notice a little, but it's not that much. Like, gains are not that quick. It's not like overnight. But after a few months, when you start seeing progress, you've literally seen that what you've been doing is working. So now in your mind, you know that it's going to work. You have seen factual evidence that what you're doing is working. So that's going to hype you up to keep doing it. You're going to keep fucking making gains. You're going to get to do a fucking badass pump pick with your boys. Fuck, man. Name one negative. Apart from the fact that you've got to do your 30 minutes of daily cardio, which apparently is like a fucking death sentence to some of you guys. But I won't hold that against you. I didn't do cardio for a little while, but eventually I saw the light. As it is written, you will do your cardio. Lisan El Gaib. Dune 2 was really good. But let's get in the car. Yeah, any Dune fans? There's a pretty wide age demographic. I bet some of you guys read it way back when. I'm sure if you were a massive fan then, you probably did not care for that first movie. I haven't actually seen it. I've just seen clips, but it's let's just say it's rough compared to the new one, or the new ones. But enough sci-fi chat, enough cinematography chat. Yeah, that was a good one. That was a very good chest day. I know I said no more incline bench. I still like it, but I did feel very little to no front delt activation. Don't worry, I'm not completely mindless. For a while, I've been trying to really retract my shoulders during my pressing and be a little bit more, chest biased, which I think I've been getting a little bit better at for sure. And I can kind of notice it in the pump itself, because when I go do the pump check, and of course, just like I can tell my front delts are not tired right now after that lift. But even when I check the pump, usually if I got a lot of front delt activation, my front delts would be extra pumped up and it would make my shoulders bigger compared to my chest, and they would kind of overpower it. But no, today was good. And especially on those pec decks today, not much front delt. Even though I still kind of pulled my shoulders forward a little bit. Usually you should try to keep your shoulders retracted backwards. But I'm not sure if you can really relate to what I'm saying here. But as I was doing those sets of pec deck, I was trying to, like, if I'm holding the handles right here in front of me, as I was doing the rep, I was almost trying to twist them this way. Like I was trying to twist the handles inward towards each other like that. Kind of as a cue to help me, keep my shoulders out of it and just let me flex my chest. And fuck, man, it felt pretty good. Speaking of that, I meant to say this while I was doing the sets, but I kind of forgot. With those cable presses, it is crucial, at least for me, to keep my palms facing each other, if not even a little bit underhanded, as I'm doing those cable presses. The bent over ones from earlier. Because as soon as I go overhand, and as soon as I start pressing, and I kind of do this to make it easier as the set progresses. Like in the beginning, I'm pressing like this, all chest, but as it gets harder, I kind of start to naturally, pronate, turn my hands over like this. And when I press like that with the cables, it gets more front delt. So I don't know if you could tell, it was kind of subtle. Or actually, I doubt anybody would tell if they didn't hear me say it. But on that first set, I started to turn my hands inward. But on the last two, I made sure to keep them up. So, little things like that, little tips like that, I think are very important. I think they can be, not groundbreaking, of course. But, subtle tips here and there, really kind of niche tips like that, they're good. They are good, In no way am I anti, good form and, specific hand placements on some machines and stuff like that. The only reason I get kind of, not upset, but the only reason I kind of talk against, what you'd call the science-based whatever, anybody like that, it's partially because some of those tips, for the most part, they're being targeted at real beginners. Like the beginner lifter, of course, you got to have them do good form, you get the gist, but really they should just be focused on getting good training experience, and just, lifting, pushing themselves hard, right? It's going to be better, and I'm not saying they should just go hard and have shit form, of course, but the harder you can go, and then you match that with good form, the better. So it's kind of, I don't want to, when I say it like that, it sounds like I'm talking against good form or reasonable form. And I'm just saying, just go hard and everything else doesn't matter. That's not exactly what I'm saying, right? I said this before. you should work really hard, right? You should push all your sets as hard as you can to the point where I think for the most part, the closer you can get to failure, the better. And do it in such a way that you're only working the targeted muscle as well as you can. So if that's like a really hard, heavy set where you're kind of busting through reps, or if it's maybe a lighter set of cable flies and you're really just squeezing and fucking burning out at the bottom, every time you fucking get to the, the bottom of the rep, the flexing portion, then no matter the case, push it. The guys who have the best results push it the hardest. Usually. 99% of the time. I'm sure there's somebody out there who can just do a really scrappy set of everything and then grow just because they've got a fucking myostatin deficiency or some shit. But odds are that's not us. Odds are it will only benefit you to push yourself harder than you are normally in the gym. And that doesn't mean heavier. A set of 315 for 10 can be just as hard. You can push yourself just as hard on a set of, 250 for 15. As long as that last rep is like your fucking maximum physical output, then the weight's kind of secondary. Now, of course, I still like doing heavier weight, like as much as I can do for 10, 12 or so reps. I don't really like doing a weight that's so heavy I can't get 7. Usually 8 is the line that I draw. But, whether I do heavier sets or lighter squeezing sets, I can make them hard, and you should expect some reasonable results. And then if you make sure all your other ducks are in order, right? Sleep, diet, hydration, supplementation, and I'm not talking about extra supplementation, that's its own realm of shit. Make sure you take your creatine gummies every night. Don't skip them. I know a ton of fucking people who do not take their creatine. I have no earthly idea why. It's a legitimately proven performance enhancer that's natural. I'm not talking about gear here. It just doesn't make sense not to. I guess it's an extra expense, so that's kind of reasonable. I mean, dudes get jacked, never taking multivitamins, never taking pre-workout. They just like a black coffee before they go lift, and that's it. But would they get better results if they had a fully stocked, fucking pre-workout with all the citrulline and nitric oxide ingredients and everything else? And if they, hit every multivitamin that they had available, and they drank a few more electrolyte packets? I'll give you a strong maybe on that one. A very strong maybe. But those are all just very minute adjustments, You're not going to take creatine and suddenly blow up. But, if you start getting more sleep, you stay very well hydrated, you take your pre-workout, you eat your, enough protein and healthy fats, I say healthy fats, enough fucking fish oils and omega-3s and yolks and whatever else. You're very well hydrated, and you're not getting fucking headaches because you only drank 1 cup of water today. You're going to have a good time in the gym. And, as silly as it sounds, all this shit, which is, just good advice in general. Like, you will feel better during your day if you get a lot of sleep. You will feel better just as a dude if you drink enough water and you're properly hydrated and all your micronutrient needs are fulfilled. I'm inclined to say, either by diet or by, a multivitamin at the end of the day. I get a lot of flack for saying that, but it's what I've been doing for a while. It seems to work. I don't have any deficiencies when I get my blood work. But, all this shit, you are just going to feel better as a dude. But the only reason I'm so, anal about it is because the better I feel and the more kind of, let's just say, on top of my game I am as like a fucking living, breathing organism, it's going to give me a more enjoyable lifting experience and better results. So that's kind of why I care about it. Not so much because of my health nut or anything like that. But if I'm really well hydrated, I got a lot of fluids floating around my body, tons of energy from carbs or some fats in a bulking context, and I got a good night's rest, I know that I'm gonna feel good having a chest day like today. I'm gonna be very well pumped. I'm gonna get to flex in the mirror and say, holy crap, this is crazy. And then that's my thing. That's what I like. So do not, oh my goodness. We're getting close to my last topic, but do not underestimate how much more enjoyable the gym will be for you if you get all these things in order. Because I'm still going to lift no matter what. If I feel like I'm about to well, okay, if I thought I was about to pass out just from walking around, from like being sleep deprived or sick, I would take a rest day, of course. But, even if I'm scrappy, even if I didn't get very good sleep, I'm kind of underfed from whatever reason, or I'm dehydrated, I'm still going to lift, right? I'm a meathead at heart. I'm still going to go to the gym. But it is not as fun. It is nowhere near as fun to lift when you feel like shit. It actually kind of sucks. I'm still going to do it because I'm, fucking go hard no matter what. But days where I feel like total shit and I still lift, compared to days where I feel really good and I lift, night and day. Night and day. Better energy levels. Just doing the sets, they don't feel like work. They almost feel like you're just challenging yourself in a very, fucking just enjoyable way, as as silly and basic as that sounds. And I could see why some people have trouble sticking to the gym. It's because it's kind of an unfortunate situation where somebody says, all right, I'm going to start lifting this week. And their daily routine in a lifting context kind of sucks. They don't get a lot of sleep. They're not drinking enough water, if any water at all. Just drinking like a coffee in the morning, or like a fucking, a Coke or something later on in the day. Like not even half a liter of water for the whole day. They're eating just, okay, and I know this is silly for me to say, but it is very different when I eat a bunch of junk compared to someone who does not train at all. That's, I do not endorse the diet in a general context, right? It's something that kind of works for me because of everything that I'm doing. It's, eat a reasonable diet. But that there are some people where they just, oh my goodness, just, ugh. Like I'll hear what some people eat in a day and I'm surprised they're alive. Like a big ass Starbucks sugary drink right in the morning, followed by no breakfast. They skip lunch, and then just weird, just, people who don't lift, they eat very weird things sometimes. Not everybody, but I'm sure somebody who just has extremely strange eating habits. Or like, fuck, man. Some people are so picky they only eat mac and cheese and that's it. We've all seen those TMZ specials. But if that's your starting state, very well dehydrated, or very poorly dehydrated, the foods you're eating are kind of rough, you're not getting any sleep. If that guy got in his mind, like, I want to start working out, and then he goes to the gym for a week, and like, sure, he can push himself fucking hard, but it's kind of going to suck, because he's not really setting himself up for success. And that's something that's a little bit, I don't want to say neglected, but not really talked about. I hardly hear people talk about how you should, or what I'm trying to say is, I don't hear people talk about having a reasonable diet, like macronutrient wise, and staying hydrated. I hardly hear people say that because it's going to make you feel better. All I hear is like, oh, this is good for you. This is the proper amount of so-and-so. Like, people kind of neglect to bring up, like, yeah, you're going to feel better if you eat more protein. You're going to feel better if you got a good amount of, saturated versus unsaturated fats. And just, you're going to feel better if you're hydrated. Even though this is basic shit, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to think it up. It's kind of just that simple. So, it kind of sucks for somebody where if they want to push themselves, but they don't have everything else, set up right, they're not going to have any fun in the gym, which, isn't like immediately their fault. And then they're just not going to want to go. So if you know somebody who wants to start working out, make sure, or maybe not make sure, but tell them to drink way more water than they normally do. And maybe eat a little bit more food than they normally do. Because to go from not working out at all and just, going to school or coming home and just chilling, like even if you're at work, you're still kind of chilling, unless you got like a labor job. So to go from that to having a hard workout, that's something you need to recover from. And your calorie intake should reflect that. So, fuck, man. I'm thinking about what I ate when I was a kid. Oh my goodness. Back when I did gymnastics, I was like a 160-pound freshman in high school. I had been doing it for a few years by then. Dude, I was fucking... oh my goodness. I would just eat like a whole bag of like croutons at once. As like a snack. And just a bunch of like treats all the time. Like never actual meals. I wonder if I would have been bigger if I were eating 150 grams of protein and more steak and eggs back then. And maybe not even bigger, but just more fit. Who's to say? Who is to say exactly? But main premise I'm trying to get at, it's gonna affect you, what you do outside of the gym. And if you can wrap your head around that pretty firmly, and you know that you do want better results in the gym, then that should be your cue to say, all right, I better get my fucking diet in order. At least in reasonable order. Start eating more quality proteins and being more hydrated. Those are honestly probably the biggest changes that'll affect what you do day in, day out. But I think that's all I got. I'm just driving around in circles right now. Now we're just chatting. But yeah, take that with what you will. So if you've been going to the gym a few times, and a few times I mean like a while, and you still get fucking, we call them exertion headaches. That's kind of a classic term that's thrown around a lot. Like, oh dude, I want to squat, but I get exertion headaches, man. And I've squatted with a headache, dude. It sucks because you get to the bottom of the rep and it feels like your fucking head's gonna explode. It's terrible. And the only times that ever happens to me is when I hardly drank shit that day. So you want a cure to just general headaches? Fuck, man. Drink a liter of water right when you wake up. Drink another one at lunch. Drink another one before you work out. Drink another one while you work out. And then throw some electrolyte mix in there just for kicks to really make sure you're on top of it. You will notice. Or maybe you won't notice because you're not going to get any fucking headaches anymore. And I could say that with pretty reasonable certainty. Like, I'm not sure how many times out of 10, but if you took 100 people who get headaches on, frequent occasion, and you asked them how much water they drank, and they weren't lying, it'd be on the low end. It would be on the freaking low end. But that's all I got. Chest complete. Now it's time to go home and eat. I was going to do another rhyme and keep that going, but I couldn't think of anything. So tomorrow's going to be quads. I'm going to make sure I get a good night's rest, eat enough food, drink enough water, and I know it's going to be a good lift. Cardio in the morning, of course, and I think I'm going to bring you with me. So I will see you then.